All right, welcome to another episode of another podcast by Bonnie Mae. I am your host, Bonnie Mae, and today's episode is just going to be talking about loving yourself, getting in tune with yourself, and picking you over anybody else. And also today, of course, it's sponsored by Bonnie Mae wine. Definitely got to give a shout out to my wine. Semi-sweet blend, and it's definitely a vibe. So super excited to, enjoy, get a little buzz so you guys can enjoy the episode. So good. So on my last episode, I was just talking about just loving on yourself, picking you over anybody else, and having that last situation that I had in my relationship. I picked him over anybody else, and I was picking him over me as well. So I had to figure out how to fall in love with myself after that breakup because it was traumatizing for me. I couldn't believe it. I fought hard to try to get him back, and, he fought hard at one point in time. Then we both just stopped fighting, and I had to learn to be in love with myself all over again because I was so consumed with that situationship, that engagement. I was so consumed with that. So I'll never forget the first time I actually came outside after the breakup, right? It was kind of crazy because I forgot how to dress. I forgot how to feel sexy because I was dressing for him. I was getting my hair done for him, getting dressed for him, just consuming myself for him. And I had to do it for me. I'll never forget when it actually hit me that it's over and it's not happening anymore. He's not coming back. We're not going to be living together, et cetera, et cetera. I never forget that first shower. Don't get me wrong, I had took multiple showers after that, but it was the first shower that I had felt like this is for me. And I never forget, I was getting out the shower, and you guys know how to steam hit the mirror and you wipe off the mirror to just check yourself out. I don't know why people do that because you just clean the shit. You know how you look because when you got in the shower, you had to take a look at the mirror. Getting out the shower ain't shit change. So I thought. And I was getting myself out of the shower, and I remember wiping off the shower. I had just finished washing my hair. My hair had grew out because I've been bald for over 10 years underneath these wigs. I was letting my hair grow through the process, and I was wiping off the shower, and I saw how attractive I was, with no makeup. Hair had grew out some. I hadn't seen my hair grew out in a long ass time, so my hair had grew out. I had a little ponytail up there and shit without my wig, and I just started to look at the curves of myself. I started to really enjoy my curves. I was like, damn, this is some good happy weight. I had happy weight from the relationship, but then I had started losing weight because of the relationship had ended. So I was a little sick, stressed out and shit, and I started to see the curve of my back. I had turned around and I noticed I had a dimple in the middle of my back, that little curved piece, and the water was dripping down my back. So I was like, damn, G, you're sexy as fuck. And I started to really look at myself. I'm looking at my titties, how they sitting up. I'm like, damn, bitch, get it, Bonnie. Water dripping. I had took off the towel. Now, mind you, if you ever been in my house, I had bought this particular house because of the closet. I got 2 walk-in closets with mirrors on there, and it was a must for me to have these mirrors with these walk-in closets. That's what sold the house, which is fucking crazy. But I walked in my room, and I remember, I had my clothes on my bed, and I had picked this little onesie, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm gonna wear this little onesie. I'm gonna fuck them up today. Cause this is my first time outside. Everybody had been calling, what's going on? Come outside. And I decided to finally come outside. but I had looked at the outfit that I had picked, and it was something that I knew that he would enjoy. So I had changed the outfit completely. It was like black and all this and that. I changed the outfit completely, and I started to look at myself naked in the mirror. And I never forget, that was the first time that I realized like my curves and how my ass was sitting up and how everything was proportioned and my belly was flat and I could see my clavicles and shit like that. I was just like, damn, Bonnie, you really, really, really are popping, you know, and you are really enjoying yourself. So I decided to basically start to be in love with myself. It was like I witnessed like the nape of my back. Like I was turning around, checking out my ass, and I'm watching like water beads fall down. And I'm looking at my hands and I'm like looking at my feet, and I noticed like it's an arch in my feet and all types of shit. I went into like nigga mode. Like I legit was like, damn, bitch, you're sexy, you know. I started to play some music. I never forget, I was playing Future, March Madness at the time, because that's my shit. I started turning up and I started dancing, twerking and shit. And I'm like, damn, the ass falling and all this other shit. And internally, I started to feel good. You know, I started to see the shape. I started to realize like, damn, Bonnie, you are attractive. And in that moment, I was like, I'm not going out. I'm going to take myself to a nice dinner. So I changed my outfit. I put on this sexy ass dress. And I never forget, because like the dress had these slits in it, and I had this dress for years, but I could never fill it out because I was so skinny. And then when I got bigger, I was too big, and then now it was just right. So I had put on this sexy ass dress, put some boots on, put on a little leather jacket, stepped out, had red lipstick in. Shout out to my girl, Rich Extensions, because she keep my hair on point. I had one of her wigs on, and I stepped out and I was like, yeah, I'm out here. And I didn't take any pictures that day. I didn't take one picture. I was living in the moment. And it felt so good for me to live in that fucking moment. It felt like I deserved that shit, you know? And I started to, I think I went to Soho House because during the time of the breakup, I started to explore different things. I got membership to Soho House. I started to really fully pay attention to my business. I started to get more credit clients. If you need your credit done, holla at me, because I do fix credit and I'm a beast at it. I started to do all that shit, and I started to be consumed into work. So this day I stepped out, it was all for me. I went out, I looked good. I think, like I said, I went to Soho House. I think I went to grab sushi. I went to a bar. I sat by myself, and it seemed like I was the only person in all of those rooms in those moments. It was fucking bananas. It was crazy of the trance that I had put into myself. Like, I'm only paying attention to me. I didn't see anybody. I didn't see any cars. I didn't see shit. I had literally went into a trance from the moment I got out the shower up until the moment I left the house in all these bars, and returned that I fell in love with myself just like that. And then I started to look at my nails. I ran to the nail shop maybe the next day or two, got my nails done, just pampered the shit out of myself. Went to King Spa, got a body scrub, like scrubbed all the dead skin out. I went to go get my hair cut and a style. I was feeling myself. And I never forget, I had called one of my homeboys, and I was telling him basically what had just happened. In the midst of it happening, I was like, man, I'm hitting every green light was a fucking go that day. It was nothing that stopped me. And I could have conquered the fucking world if I wanted to that day, because I had fell back in love with myself, and actually fell back in love with knowing that I'm the shit all over again, you know? And during the time of me starting to love on myself, you go into these different phases of nothing can stop you. You all the way up. Like on some real shit. I felt like I could have touched the moon during those days of me learning myself again. Like I started to try different hair colors. Shout out to Rich for that. I started to try out different foods. I started to go different places. I started to find myself driving all the way to fucking Naperville because it was a restaurant that somebody showed on Instagram and I just had to try it. I horseback ride. I thought I wanted to buy a fucking horse during that time. It was crazy how much I fell in love with myself. And it takes so much to give when you fall in love with yourself. That shit is hard because if you're a person of service and you're a person of always looking out for your friends, your family, your loved ones, your significant other, your kids, your this, your that, whatever, the man on the street, the man on the corner, giving, you run on fucking E. Okay. And when you run on E, it's like one of those situations where you have to find yourself back to you. But most importantly, you have to find yourself back to God because I lost my faith during that time. I was so consumed that I had stopped praying to God. But the moment that I did decide to turn my faith and I prayed for him and say, God, if this is not what you want me to do, can you please show me? And the next day he showed me within hours that he removed that shit from me. I said, oh, I got a bigger purpose. On top of, my bigger purpose, and this is before my surgery that I talked about on my previous podcast. I had broke up with him and then I had my surgery. So I started to love myself, but then, like I said, I had got that setback because I had that surgery and some other shit was happening, and I'll talk about that on my next episode if you're interested. But me loving myself, I started to find myself in places where you should have someone next to you. The most powerfulest thing that you can ever do is sit and eat by yourself in a public restaurant or a fancy restaurant, a 5-star restaurant. It's so fucking peaceful. But when you do it, it seems like the world stopped. It's only you and the person that's taking your food order. And I'll never forget, I went to this other particular restaurant downtown Chicago in the West Loop. And me and my homeboy, we were talking about it, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to take my girl there and this, and this. I said, I'm going to go there today. He like, oh, okay. I'm going to go there for lunch. And I got there, and like I said, during this time, it seemed like every light was a go. Every street I went down, it was empty. When I was on the expressway and it was supposed to be crowded, it seemed like I was the only one there. And when I was walking through this journey of trying to find myself through love and through my own faith and re-love myself, I think the only person who was there was God. And my mom, because she wasn't letting up. She was checking on me every hour, every minute, every day, and me and her became even closer. But during that journey of me walking out the house after I talked to her, it seemed like it was only me and God walking. Or he was carrying me, because God knows, I know I had lost my faith during that time, so I needed him. And long story short, when I was doing the things that I was doing with him, I went to this restaurant, right? Let me get back on track. Sorry, y'all. I went to this restaurant, and when the waiter took my order, I don't remember seeing him. I was so in tune with me and my thoughts. I was so in tune with me and my thoughts and where I needed to be in the next 30, 60, 90 days that nothing could stop me but me enjoying my own company. And when I was enjoying my own company, I went to this restaurant. God, Lord, I can't even remember the name of it. It's gonna kill me that I can't remember the name of this fucking restaurant. But went down there, new restaurant, serving steak, whatever may have you. I checked. Go to the restaurant, walk in. Like I said, I just felt it was just me and myself. I felt like I served myself. The food was so delectable. It was so good. Oh my God. It was so good. Like, it tastes like trying candy for the first time. Like, it tastes like having your first high when you get high by weed for the first time, or your first drink when it touches your tongue and you're like, this is good. Like, it was so great. and powerful. And when I was doing the things that I was doing and I was eating and I was enjoying myself, I saw nothing. But it's so funny because on one particular moment, I remember when I was so in tune with myself, trying to find myself, trying to love on myself. I never forget. I felt like the world has stopped. And I needed that for myself because I was so consumed with everything else. I was running on E. I had found the light again, and the light wasn't within myself. I started to spoil myself. I started to buy different items for me. I started to say, I deserve that. Like, if nobody else is going to do it, motherfucker, do it for yourself. If you want that new car, go figure out how to get it. You want a new house, go figure out how to get it. You got one time to die and a lifetime to fucking live. So you better live to the fucking fullest. And when I was going through whatever I was going through during that moment of heartbreak, despair, embarrassment, disappointment, all those things, I had to find the good within myself because I was on edge. I didn't give a fuck. Anybody could have got it during that time when I was hurt. And I just could not believe I was so hurt that I was probably hurting other people in the meantime. And I do apologize for that. However, me finding myself was the best fucking thing on earth. It was better than not the first time you had sex, but that second and third time that you know it's supposed to be good. Because first time having sex, that shit hurt and it's not good. You gotta warm up that muscle down there. So it was better than having sex for that second and third time and you're actually enjoying it, or you actually have a fucking orgasm the first time. That's how much in tune I was in loving myself. And how I got there was literally erasing negative thoughts in my head about him and forgiving everybody in the past who did me wrong. When I became peaceful in my mind, I start loving myself. You can't love yourself when you so chaotic and you got hate on your heart and you got hate on your head. Sometimes the mind and the heart does some weird shit. The heart be like, I want it because it makes you feel good and it release dopamine in your head and you just feel like this is ecstasy and this is what you're supposed to have. But then when your heart is broken, it release hate in your mind because you know you're not supposed to feel the way you feel. So me loving myself and me figuring this shit out was amazing. I started to walk with a purpose. I started to pay more attention to how I dress, how I feel, what I present on social media. I started to dress better for my body type and not just squeeze into anything to hide it because it's black. I started to go to restaurants that I became the person I wanted to date. Okay, that's what I did. I stopped being as emotional. I stopped being as negative, and I stopped literally thinking that someone owed me something. And that's when I started loving myself. I cleared all that negative shit out from 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 20 years. I cleared that shit out of my head. And then I started to look at myself in a different fucking light. I let go and I let God. And when I let go, and I let God carry me, he carried me to me loving myself again. He carried me into caring about my businesses again. He carried me into actually wondering, what if you didn't exist? Nobody gives a fuck about you at your lowest moment and your darkest time. Nobody cares about that, right? But your closest friends and family. And when I say that nobody cares, because I thought everybody cared. And I went into this little dark hole and I hid from people. I was so nervous that people would judge me. And then I just stopped giving a fuck. When you don't give a fuck about what somebody say about you, what somebody do about you, and what somebody, you block all the negativity out. The craziest thing about the mind is you think that people are saying things and they're not. You think that people care about you that much and they don't. You think that everybody has a checklist and they're judging you on your scars that you can only see and they're not. You never hear hate unless a motherfucker is in an argument with you. Have you ever noticed that? Take a second back and think about this shit. You are your biggest, worst downfall and critic. And I had to change that. Instead of me thinking that everybody was judging me, or instead of me thinking that everybody was against me, guess what I did? I changed that shit. I started to say everybody is positive. Everything around me is positive. Everything that I touch is going to turn into fucking gold, and I'm going to be fucking successful, and that's the goal. That's it. That's all, and I can't do nothing but win. And when I changed that, that's when I fell in love with myself. I started dressing better. I started caring about my hair. I started to actually buy things that is of substance and will survive longer than 6 months to a year. I did all that shit. And after I fell in love with myself, I found love. I still had scars. Don't get it twisted. I wasn't just in love with myself and my scars was healed. No, my shit had band-aids on it and I didn't know they existed. I didn't realize that, the scars that I had from years ago just had a band-aid and it had a scab. But the moment I opened my hands or something, those scab wounds open and I'm bleeding again. I didn't realize that I wasn't healed fully. I was loving myself, but I wasn't healed. And the fact that I wasn't healed fully fucking bothered me. I just didn't know how to heal. And I didn't know what it meant to heal. I knew that I was in love with myself again because I was doing things better for myself. I was going above and beyond, taking trips. I was making sure that Bonnie was okay on the outside. Now I'm healing within. And I guess, me falling in love with myself, me taking myself out on trips, dinners and dates and dressing better and saying no to sit at certain people's tables, I knew that I was starting to put Bonnie first. I knew I was part of that healing process. And basically, through my healing journey, it just, you start to question things, you start to question family, friends, etc. And you start to question, what do you actually fucking deserve? And when I started to question that, I started to get stronger. I started to get wiser. I started to just say, okay, if I'm going to become this person that I want to date, I have to make sure my shit is straight. And that's basically what I did. That was the journey of me just falling in love with myself. That's when I had that aha moment that, damn, you are that bitch and you look good and in your own regards. If nobody else gonna cheer you on, bitch, you better. Okay. And the most unhumblest way as possible, because no one is going to be your biggest cheerleader but you. You cannot expect people to be your big cheerleader when you're not. And that's basically what happened. I started falling in love with myself. I started to dress different. I started to masturbate different because I ain't had nobody else to fuck around with. And the things that I started to learn is what I like sexually, what I like mentally, how I like to be stimulated, and how that works for me. And I just could not see myself being intimate with anybody else other than my ex-fiance at the time. Even though his ass was doing what he was doing, I refused to do that with anybody else. I just couldn't. I couldn't even call a sneaky link or be like, yo, baby, come drop it off, because I just emotionally wasn't there. So I had to relearn what sensations I like. And I had to put me first. So that's basically what I had to do. And by putting me first, that came with time. I know in my next episode, I'm going to talk about how put me first actually had a major impact on my family, my friends, and when I did find love, how that impacted him as well. Because if you know me, I'm impulsive. When I love hard, I love so fucking hard. When I don't give a fuck about something, I don't give a fuck about it, and you will know it. If I don't want to be accessed, I won't be accessed. But in my next episode, I'm definitely going to tell you how putting me first changed, and how you need to put yourself first in order for you to be that person you desire, you want, and you enjoy. So I thank you guys for listening. I thank you guys for subscribing. I thank you guys for tuning in. But definitely look at my next episode and see how putting me first and putting yourself first had a change in a lot of relationships I had. So thank you. Please like, subscribe, and comment below on things that you want to know. It's another podcast by Bonnie Mae.